So, hi, my name is Victoria. Okay, so we can all agree that we contribute to things that harm the environment, like driving cars or heating and lighting our homes. But what most of us don't realize is that what we eat plays a really big role in harming the environment as well. The consumption of animal products, primarily meat, is one of the top contributors of pollution and global warming. To get land for these factory farms where the meat is produced, massive acres of land are needed, so many forests are cut down. Cutting down these forests, along with the production of meat in these factories, releases harmful gases into the atmosphere. Not only do they release gases, but they don't dispose their waste properly. This pollutes water sources near and farther away from the factory farms. Okay, so my first claim is that where we get our meat from makes all the difference. Most of the population eats meat, so therefore everyone increases the demand for it. The population is now close to 9 billion, and all these people need to be fed daily. The American diet doesn't help this at all because most of our diets are encompassed around a type of meat. Like when you go to a restaurant, the main entree is like a chicken or steak or a different type of meat. So the demand for meat skyrockets. According to reports by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN and others, factory farming has made animal agriculture the #1 contributor to global warming. It's significantly more destructive than cars alone, and one of the top 2 or 3 causes of all of the most serious environmental problems, both global and local: air and water pollution, deforestation, and loss of biodiversity. Another claim is that 99% of animal products come from factory farms. According to the analysis of USDA data by the advocacy group Farm Forward, they produce 99% of the animals eaten in America. And then the other 1% is free and organic, but that's just 1%. So most of the meat sold in restaurants and supermarkets is a product of factory farming. So by eating animal products, which is pretty much every single piece of meat sold in America, it's certainly the worst thing that humans can do to the environment. Another reason eating meat is bad for the environment is that the methods of acquiring land for these factory farms include deforestation. So a bit of background on it. Deforestation is like the clearing of land and forests for resources mainly. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that to keep pace with increasing demand, global agriculture production will have to keep increasing and possibly doubling by 2050. This forest conversion is mainly to create space for single crop plantations and factory farms. There's a huge demand for production because the number of people on this planet continues to grow in numbers every single day. Deforestation impacts our atmosphere by throwing carbon into the air. Kate Crockett, a writer and editor for Travel and Lifestyle magazine, states that our forests clean air and help regulate global climate. Deforestation releases massive amounts of carbon into the atmosphere, accounting for more than 15% of total greenhouse gas emissions. These gas emissions result in global warming because it traps energy on our planet and heats the planet gradually every day. Greenhouse gas emissions aren't necessarily a bad thing, but when too much carbon dioxide gets trapped into the atmosphere, the planet starts heating up, and the temperatures on this planet need to remain mild and balanced to be suitable for all living things. If the temperatures become too low or too high, a lot of ecosystems will not be able to survive. And then my third claim is that animal waste pollutes water sources. So animal waste from the factory farms contain harmful antibiotics and feces. You know, they're standing in their feces and it's not disposed of properly, so air polluted with ammonia, hydrogen sulfide, and dust is harming the health of both the workers and residents living downwind from these operations. And this can bring upon many health issues. Robert Lawrence, an associate dean of Johns Hopkins University School of Public Health, states that people who live near large livestock farms complain about many health issues, including headaches, runny noses, sore throats, diarrhea, burning eyes, coughing, bronchitis, and shortness of breath. And this waste isn't disposed of properly. This waste has nitrogen and phosphorus in the manure, and according to the Environmental Protection Agency, excess nutrients from manure spills can cause large algae blooms in rivers that deplete oxygen in water and kill fish. In 2005, a manure lagoon in New York spilled several million gallons into the Black River, killing 250,000 fish. Also, hog, chicken, and cattle waste has polluted 35,000 miles of rivers in 22 states and contaminated groundwater in 17 states. This pollution also occurs when farmers apply to manure the land faster than the plants can take it up. So, and then In a North Carolina study, the amount of nitrates in groundwater beneath the fields where the animals are sprayed with liquid manure, and then that's 5 times more than the human health standard. A counter argument for this could be that that global warming isn't real. But Kate Crockett, editor for Lifestyle magazine, states that from the onset of the agricultural age, the world's forests have declined by 20%. The combined loss of all this forest cover has been a major factor contributing to the greenhouse effect. And then, although they're right about the greenhouse effect, they aren't right about global warming. Greenhouse gas emissions are normal, but it's a matter of how much this carbon is being released into the atmosphere. The greenhouse effect is needed in order to sustain life and keep the overall climate of the Earth temperate. Nevertheless, too much carbon is being released due to deforestation, and this traps heat in the atmosphere, making Earth more and more polluted.
Okay, Victoria, the proposition at the beginning of the speech is a little bit buried in your introduction, and I think you need to make it a little bit more explicit. And the same thing when you're previewing the contents. I know what the general subjects are, but I don't know what the claims are that you're going to be making about those topics. Now, it was clearer when you got into the body of the speech. You signposted each point as you got to it, so that's good. There is a little bit of a problem, though, because I didn't think that the first 2 points were really stated as claims. They just sound like topic identifiers. It's not too hard for us to figure out what the claims are, but you want to make sure that we're getting the claims that you want us to get. Where are you? I know you're here somewhere. There you are. So you want us to get the claims that you are making the inference on, and so you want that to be a little bit sharper. I thought that the third point was the one that was most clearly stated as a claim in the structure. So it's structured. The supporting points are relatively clear, but you do want to phrase them as claims more distinctly. On the evidence that you're presenting, I thought that you had a lot of good information in this speech. There are several examples of statistical information. There's a lot of authoritative testimony. You do provide qualifications for the information that you're supplying, so that's, I think, a very good start. Sets a good precedent for everybody else in the debate. Maybe in the speeches, everybody could probably use another example or two. But you had the one example about the lagoon spill. I thought that was pretty effective, although seems like it's a little bit dated. It is 12 years old. If there are any more recent examples, that would probably be helpful. You insert kind of a counterclaim issue that somebody might respond to, talking about whether or not global warming is real. And most of your information there just kind of explains the concept of global warming without demonstrating that it is real. So I think there's a little bit of vulnerability there, and you bothered to bring it up as an issue, so it wouldn't surprise me at all that it comes up as a response argument. Given the evidence that you present, I think you've got some solid generalizations. Presentation, there's a lot of reading. I know that there's a lot of information in the speech. I didn't expect you to memorize it, but I think your arguments you could be looking up a little bit more, and that'll enhance your credibility and make it easier for people to accept what you're talking about. You use your time pretty effectively. All right, thank you.